Look, I think that in order to assess whether it's been successful, you have to look at what's gone on before. So I did an interview recently, and we spoke about this element of a comparative study. So it's very easy to assess with a blind, naked eye and just say this has been good or that's not been good. I think the only way you can measure success is if you actually look at what had gone on before. And that coupled with, this is what they said they would do, have they done it? So when I sat in the press conference on the 6th of February when I joined last year, it's just been just over a year, there were certain things that we spoke about. Bringing Test cricket back, bringing the whole of the HBL, PSL back for 2020. Starting to restructure the PCB so we become more efficient. Looking at revamping domestic cricket. Now, if you look at those in its entirety, you can sit back and you can go, crikey, that's a significant progress from where the country has been, where the PCB has been. So the question you ask is, why have things not moved forward in the past? The biggest claim to fame, and we have to hand it here, to the PCB in the past has been the PSL. Nobody can deny that. It was a great, creative, innovative tournament that came in, and that's probably the most significant thing the PCB could hang their hat on in the past. So coming in on the backdrop of not a lot of things happening in the last few years, we've had to hit the road running. And also something, coming from an environment outside of Pakistan, I've understood I've had very little time. I will be judged very quickly on what's been done or hasn't been done. Has everything been brilliant? No. Is everything always going to be brilliant? No, of course not. There's going to be things we're not going to get right, and we'll continue not to get right. But if we get more things right, then I think that is success. So based on those things in the last 12 months, our global standing now amongst other countries has massively improved. People wanting now have conversations. Australia, ECB, other countries now want to have a conversation with us. The door was firmly closed before. Getting the CEOs over here to visit, big step forward for us. Because wo Pakistan nahi aane chahte. They didn't want to come before. They didn't want to step foot in this country because they didn't know what to expect. So they needed a level of confidence with the leadership. Ehsan Mani, chairman, we know what he brings. An icon in the game who's been around for a very long time, president of the ICC, well respected in Pakistan. And he's been a great role model for us in terms of driving change here right from the beginning. So there's all those factors. We are moving at pace, Sami. So the next 12 months brings a lot of excitement in terms of what else we can achieve over the next 12 months. In the next few weeks, we're hopefully going to be releasing our strategy. Whether you're a TV station in this country, radio station, a business, let me just put this in context. People will say, oh, this is all on paper, it looks great, you guys are going to release a nice strategy, what does that mean? Every organisation has to have a direction. Every organisation, whether you're a TV station, whoever you are, you need to have a direction. If you don't have a direction, then you're going to be getting involved in all sorts of things. You're going to have no idea of what your vision is, what you want to do. If I said to somebody, what do you want to do in the next 5 years? Somebody will have a plan. 5 years, this is where my job is, this is where I want to be. It's called planning. We will be releasing a comprehensive strategy for 5 years that has now been signed off by our Board of Governors. That will provide clarity on where we want to go, but also how we're going to measure whether we're delivering on that. And that is something for us every 12 months to get in front of the media and say, this is what we said we were going to do, this is what we delivered against it. We're going to have Harun Rashid, the Director of Domestic, coming, updating us on the learnings from the domestic season, what plans we are putting in place moving forward, हम क्या कर रहे हैं, actions क्या हम implement कर रहे हैं, क्यों हम कर रहे हैं, and what the impact of those will be. So all of these things, we've done a thorough review of the domestic cricket of the season. That will be done. Also Andy Atkinson, who is the ICC pitch consultant, came at the beginning of January. He wrote a very comprehensive report. So one of the things we'll be discussing is how do we implement his report. So there's a number of things that we are going to touch on. But I want us to be focused in those meetings. I know I'm meeting with Iqbal on the 18th to go through the agenda. make sure he's happy. He has to lead that committee, and I will give him as much support as possible. The Cricket Committee was also always set up as an advisory committee. It has a strong sway and a strong rationale and context for why it's been set up. It will provide firm recommendations to the chairman of the PCB. That is the way the constitution has been set up. It's not there to make decisions and then the chairman rubber stamps it. They provide firm recommendations. But what I will say is the recommendations the Cricket Committee makes, the PCB chairman will take very, very seriously. Because ultimately that's the group which has got the personnel, it's got the expertise and the knowledge. So that is set up for that. The terms of reference are pretty much based around cricket. So looking at interviews and appointments of key staff within the cricket department, i.e. international head coaches, assistant coaches, all of those sorts of things. But a lot of it is operational, which is about looking at, the domestic structure, looking at what's working, what isn't working, potentially looking at central contracts, looking at international performances, looking at selection policies, looking at officials, match officials in terms of their development, their improvements. Are we comfortable in terms of everything we were providing? So it's very quality. It's got a very much an outlook of quality, looking at everything we're trying to do. So it's important that we don't spread ourselves too thinly. But जो topics जो हम discuss and debate कर रहे हैं, कि वो topics जो है are very relevant to people in Pakistan and also relevant to cricket in this country in terms of improving it. No, I think that Misbah will be asked the question for sure, because it's one of those $1 million questions everybody's asking at the moment. Which direction are you going to go? So that will be raised. I know one or two of the members want to raise that question. And then really it's about Misbah giving his view, and then he'll be challenged and debated, discussed. That's the other reason for the Cricket Committee, is to put these guys under pressure, ask the difficult questions, challenge them on those questions. It's a subcommittee of the BOG. It's there to carry out a function like the audit committee is and various other committees. So it will be there and it will be asking tough questions. They'll want answers about the performances in Australia. Why did we fall short so badly? How have we suddenly turned it around here? What about your selections? So I know that certain questions will be asked about certain selections, which the media have spoken about. The T20 selections, certain things around test matches with the selection of Fawad Alam, various others, and then not playing. This is going to be the job of the Cricket Committee to get under the skin of Misbah's thinking. And the captaincy question will come up for the ODIs as well. I will continue to work closely with Misbah to make sure that they continue to get the support. What we don't want is in the future, any of these guys, when you hold people accountable, you have to make sure that they are supported. As much as possible, they are given everything they need in order to do their jobs and do it successfully. If they don't do it, what you can't have is someone saying, well, I asked for this, 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 and this, I only got this and this. So therefore, I wasn't able to do my job. As much as is feasible and rational in terms of the thinking, and I continue to challenge Misbah on things that he asks for or things that he wants, because I need a proper understanding about why he's doing what he's doing. We'll continue to support. I'll continue to have a brief in terms of supporting the cricket side. So we had a planning meeting, as an example, on the eve of the Rawalpindi test recently, with all the cricket support staff to plan the next 12 months. From everything from training camps to when they arrive in England, the test match preparations, the warm-up matches, everything. So these things, they're going to be spending a lot of time on the road. We are planning 12 months ahead. We are doing all of those things. How do we get the exchange programs in Australia? We're moving ahead with that. Playing test matches, additional games, A-teams, Lions, tier tours. This is all planning behind the scenes. We want a 4-year reciprocal arrangement around the Pakistan Shaheens playing against A-teams of other countries. South Africa, England, Australia, New Zealand. Our boys need exposure to those nations, those conditions, our very best young players. Because the concept of A-tours, Sami, is two things. Is your second best and your future best. The second best players are in line in terms of on the cusp of playing international cricket, and your future players like your under-19s. That's what our Pakistan Shaheens team will be made up of. So we've got some high quality in there, but there's a relevance with all of those players.